Hey there, good people in crypto land. This is Matt Lysing, and welcome back to my podcast, Decent People. Today, we've got a special episode. We're bringing you a Twitter Spaces recording that we did about a week and a half ago that we called Crypto for Good. What we did is we featured three projects that we think are trying to change the world for the better. The first is Glow Dollar, a stablecoin that is promising to donate all of its profits to end extreme poverty around the world. The second is Eco Sapiens, an NFT project that is working to help retail users buy carbon credits and sequester carbon emissions to help with global warming. And the third is Huma Finance, which is working with crypto loans so that businesses and individuals around the world, and small businesses or mid-sized businesses, can get loans to help them with their operations in a situation where a bank wouldn't be giving those people a loan. It's not all SEC enforcement actions and rug pulls. We think that there are some great projects out there that are doing good for the world in crypto. We wanted to bring those to you. We've covered all of these firms at Decential, so make sure to check the liner notes if you want to read up on those stories before you have a listen. And as always, thanks a lot for listening and hope you enjoy it.
I'm Matt Lysing. I co-founded Decential. I spent many years as a reporter at Bloomberg News, and then with my partner, Neil Berkeley, who's a documentary filmmaker, we created Decential a couple of years ago. And we set out with the intent to write about the people who are making Web3 a reality. Neil and I thought that there's just not enough attention on the folks behind the scenes. And those folks tend to be brilliant and funny and weird. And they come from all walks of life and they're doing amazing things. So that's what we've been working on, both on the filmmaking side, on the editorial side with our website, Decential.io. We put out 4 podcasts a week. We've got one weekly newsletter and we've got a second one coming. We're trying to cover all the bases and make sure that the folks behind the scenes are getting the attention we think they deserve. So make sure to check us out at Decential.io for more on that. I'd love to introduce you just quickly to 2 of my colleagues who are on the call who are going to help with this. The first is Amanda Smith. She's a wonderful freelance writer in New York City. She's been covering culture and news for us at Decential. She is starting a series for Pride Month. The first of our series of articles on that comes out tomorrow. Our other colleague is Stephen Ladden, who's based in Los Angeles. Stephen wrote for High Times and a bunch of other places. He's a consummate interviewer and writes about where Web3 and entertainment meet. So make sure to check them out, give them a follow, and you'll get deeper into the Web3 space with those folks in your Twitter feed. So just real quickly then, let's get to the guests. We've got 3 amazing folks to talk to today. And I'm going to ask you guys each to give a short intro for yourselves and what you do. Jeff Maluski is the first. He's the co-founder and CEO of Glow Dollar. So maybe, Jeff, you could just say a quick word about Glow Dollar and what you guys are up to.
Yeah, great to be here. I appreciate it. Yeah, Glow Dollar, very simply, is a stable coin that helps alleviate extreme poverty throughout the world. We do this as a fiat-backed stable coin, just like USDC. We're going to generate revenue from the assets that back the stablecoin 1-to-1, and then donate that to an NGO called Give Directly that has basic income programs for people in extreme poverty. So we hope to scale this, become a really important part of the ecosystem, and make a big impact in terms of using stablecoins and crypto in a positive way. So appreciate being here.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much. And make sure to check out the story we wrote about Jeff and Glow Dollar at Decential. Next guest is Nihar Neelakanti. He's the co-founder and CEO of Eco Sapiens. Hey, Nihar, thanks so much for being here. Can you just tell us real briefly what you guys are doing?
Hey, Matt. Thanks for the invite. Hey, everyone. My name's Nihar. I'm the co-founder of Eco Sapiens, and our mission is to build products that empower everyday people to make a positive impact on the planet. And what we do today is we pioneered digital collectibles that sequester your carbon footprint. And we launched our first sort of initial collection not that long ago, and we're super excited about the power of digital art and collectibles and NFTs as a whole to make climate action accessible and economical for people. And that's really what we're.
That's awesome. Thank you. And our last guest is Erbil Karaman. He's the co-founder of Huma Finance. Erbil, thanks so much for being here. Can you tell us real quickly what you guys are up to?
Yeah, thank you, Matt, for having me. Huma Finance is an income-backed DeFi protocol for 99%. If you think about participation in DeFi, today you actually need a lot of crypto assets, and that's only available to a select few, as we know. We basically simplify it by letting any business and anybody around the world with any kind of income or cash flow to participate in DeFi through our fintech partners in emerging markets. So in a way, it's an infrastructure for fintechs to build with DeFi and expand the values and the benefits of the DeFi to everybody around the world.
Amazing. Yeah, let's just jump into it. And what we thought was interesting when we were writing all these stories for Decential is that obviously we're here because of crypto, and it allows new ways of solving old problems or trying to solve old problems. So we wanted to talk about that. Like, what is it about crypto here and your project specifically that relies on maybe Web3 or the blockchain? So Jeff, you've said previously that crypto allows us to embed values within money, which I think is a fantastic way of saying it. It's very succinct. So let me start with you. What is it about crypto that is allowing you to do this? And maybe a good way into that is to just, because I find this fascinating, maybe you could explain the economics of a stablecoin like Tether that's sitting on billions of dollars and how that money that's in reserve can earn them interest income.
For sure. First, yeah, the crypto aspect of this, I think it's really important. I like to focus on the stablecoin market. It's proven to be a killer app of crypto. Over 120, $30 billion of fiat-backed stablecoins are out there. People are using them for real uses. It's just a big market that's, I think, is going to grow over time. And if we can build some type of embedded or passive philanthropy in this type of product, it has the ability to scale to billions of dollars of impact. So crypto, the infrastructure of it, the rails in terms of using a financial product for payments and other types of services is built, and we can leverage it in a very efficient way to create this revenue stream. So that's really important. We can't go out and build a whole new Visa payment network, but we can use the tools of decentralized blockchains and all that to really build an efficient, impactful organization. Now, with Tether and the USDC, the fiat-backed stablecoins, it's very simple. They'll issue a stablecoin, take in real fiat assets, US dollars, when it's usually pegged a dollar, and they'll invest those just like a bank does. They'll invest it like a deposit into safe, hopefully safe, and liquid investments. And right now, US Treasuries are a very popular form of investment, and they're earning 4 to 5%. So if you look at the market cap of Tether, it's around $80 billion. That means there should be about $80 billion of assets supporting that. And then they'll earn a percent of interest on the invested assets there. So it's a very profitable business model when we have an interest rate environment like we do right now.
Yeah, I was just looking, I saw yesterday, in the first quarter of this year, Tether earned $1.5 billion in profit from that interest income. And that's just in the quarter. So if it stays that way, that's $6 billion a year that they're clearing. And your idea there at Glow Dollar is that could be, if you could scale to that level, that could be $6 billion going to help people in extreme poverty.
Exactly. It's a very efficient, scalable model in terms of the ability to generate that kind of income as a company. And yeah, it takes a lot of effort getting that much adoption. It's going to take some time, but there's no big friction in terms of infrastructure. Like we're using a decentralized blockchain network. It's basically just a user adoption and finding use cases and getting us into the ecosystem. So we really want to promote early adoption and building out support around the ecosystem growth.
Yeah, that's great. So moving on to Nihar, and Stephen, maybe you could jump in here too. Nihar, you said we want to build a platform that empowers everyday people to make a difference on the planet. Can you tell us a little bit more about that, and where does the blockchain element to that come in and make it so that this is something that you can, is it that you can do it better in crypto, or you can do, or what, just maybe give us some sense of that for what you guys are doing with EcoSapiens?
Yeah, totally. So look, at a high level, EcoSapiens was founded, frankly, to help solve a problem that I was facing myself. In 2020, watching the wildfires rip through Northern California, I felt personally really helpless and was asking myself what I could do to make a difference in climate change, right? And obviously, It's not like necessarily one person can make the whole world better, but for me, I was looking for ways to make small differences, and I couldn't find anything particularly attractive. And what I mean by this is that climate action is a need, and it's something that a lot of people are seeking. That's why you see Nike and Adidas, for example, fighting to be the plastic-free shoe. I'm sure over the holidays you saw everyone trying to incorporate sustainability into their products because people are asking for it. But most oftentimes, sustainability or living a sustainable life is more expensive. It's oftentimes it oftentimes requires a lifestyle change. So it can mean eating less meat or walking more and driving less, which is not obviously feasible in a lot of places in the world. But the third element is that when we do study brands and companies that have done a good job of bringing climate and world positive outcomes in general to the forefront of consumers, is that they make it really fun, and they make it a powerful signal, which is what you're doing when you're wearing Patagonia or another values aligned brand. And so the thesis was, what if the way to make products that gave people ways to make a difference on the planet was really that at a thesis level, you had to design products that were easy, that made climate action easy, economical, and fun, and cool, and part of community. And if you look at those ingredients, like accessibility, economic alignment, and culture, we saw those three ingredients uniquely in NFTs, right, and in crypto culture. And for us, we saw this avenue of taking carbon credits, and specifically credits that were reforesting the planet or underwent soil regeneration. The idea is, what if you brought those and really just disguised them as digital art and turn it into a thing that people could buy and showcase, but also make a real world difference in a one-click way? And that's the idea, right? So when you buy an Ecosapien, what you're doing is you're buying an art collectible that you get to symbolize and say is an Ecosapien, obviously, but on the back end, you're offsetting a full year's worth of carbon emissions through soil regeneration. And it is a one-click experience. And if you were to reimagine what I'm describing in a Web2 world, it wouldn't be that easy. You'd have to build a lot of the rails to bring carbon credits to users. You'd have to build a whole Robinhood-like front end. And the time to market was just not the same. So
Its carbon credit world previously was really like the realm of oil companies, right? And manufacturers and large conglomerates that wanted to try to offset what they were putting into the world, or airlines, for example. And it wasn't a retail kind of focused.
no, I think there's two issues with carbon credits on the consumer side. One is it is inaccessible, right? Like, where do you go buy carbon credits? It's not one click easy. And even on the enterprise side, right? So even if you are like a Chevron or a Stripe or whatever, you're going through a series of brokerages and this complex commodities market. It is true that just carbon on chain in general, I think, would bring a lot more transparency to the whole carbon credit space as a category. But certainly by doing it on chain like this, you're making it accessible to consumers, right? That's like a simple matter of fact. And then obviously using the art to align incentives and make carbon credits attractive to consumers. Because the truth is, if carbon credits by themselves, I don't believe are natively like super attractive. I don't know why I would just buy carbon credits, but if buying it in an art form, I think is a lot more compelling.
And Nihar, this is Steve jumping in real quick. For those who don't know, maybe you could explain what carbon credits are and how they function, and how, I know you explained how Web3 makes them possible through Ecosapiens, but maybe just a general introduction to carbon credits for those who aren't familiar.
Yeah, so carbon credits it was an asset that was introduced at the Kyoto Protocol in 1997 as a way to incentivize carbon drawdown. So the big picture is we're creating way too much carbon in the air, and obviously it's leading to climate change. So to use it to create an asset that actually incentivizes carbon sequestration, that's what carbon was invented for. And the value of carbon is derived based on how much carbon and the value is being reduced in the air and either being put directly in the ground or shrunk from a typical factory. Like Tesla gets carbon credits for having fully electric factories, right? Or for example, if you and I go start a tree farm that where we can measure how much carbon is being captured and stored, those can be turned into carbon credits, and those get sold to other people. So when you as a consumer buy a carbon credit, What you're actually doing is you're financing carbon removal or from the air. That's how I would best describe it.
Awesome. Thank you.
And just real quickly, one of the things I love about your EcoSapiens is that you start at one level and then you can level up. And so like there's a little bit of a gamification, right? Where you're like, oh, I bought some more and now my NFT looks totally different. And that's part of making it fun, I would assume.
Yeah, it's an interesting idea. If you view your character as like your vessel or your balance for carbon, part of this mechanism or part of the question for us was, is there a way to incentivize you to continue to do more good, right? So you made one purchase, but could we get you to sequester more? And the idea was look at your ecosapien like a vessel for carbon, and the more you sequester, the more it grows and the more intriguing and intricate it gets. And not only is that more signaling, you're also increasing your carbon balance, right? So if you look at my character on my PFP right now, it's like a fully maxed out ecosapien. And so if you see a character that's got the large flora and the small flora and the minerals, you know that character has sequestered more carbon.
Yeah, very cool. Herbal, let's go to you for a second. And you've called what you guys are doing at Huma, you're trying to get DeFi for the 99%. And I know from the story we wrote about you guys, a big part of that is lending in the form of crypto to folks who might not have access to traditional banking. And Amanda, feel free to jump in here. Could you just give us a little bit more on Huma and what you guys are trying to do?
Of course. Yeah. Maybe the right way to explain it is starting from our previous experience, which is something people might be more familiar with. It's the fintech experiences that we were building before we were building something called Earnin. Earnin is one of the probably pioneers in the consumer digital cash advances space. It was one of the first digital cash advance products in the App Store, and we served tens of millions of Americans who were unable to make ends meet. We provided more than $10 billion in cash advances, and we were able to build a very long sustaining product without any interest rates, without any collections and recourse mechanisms, without checking credit scores, and building a community that was very strong to both power the business itself by leaving tips for the services they were getting whenever they could, because sometimes they couldn't, because they're really living to the last cent that they have. But at the same time, we realized building that was not really easy and sustaining that was not really easy. And we were thinking, okay, building this with the traditional banking partners and payment rail partners is just not a very long-term feasible solution. There are better solutions that you can actually build on top of the blockchain ecosystems. That's number one, because if you can't build things efficiently, it becomes really hard to serve 99%, right? Think about like a bank when they think about serving a low-income person or like a small business versus serving a large enterprise or high net worth individual, they quickly realize, okay, instead of spending my efforts and labor in serving 1,000 low-income human beings or some small businesses, I can just dedicate those resources to serving a few high net worth individuals and larger enterprises, and I can just make much more money, right? That's a very simple equation they use. So you realize unless you can actually make things really efficient, you're not able to serve 99% because the traditional systems are designed to say no to those participants. And literally the three of us, we left Earnin and we start basically thinking hard about like how do we enable as many Earnin type fintechs as possible around the globe, because unless we do that, there's not going to be an efficient infrastructure to build this kind of solutions, first of all. Two, if you think about what really is happening right now in emerging markets, you see a lot of lending providers who are operating in a very opaque and predatory way, right? And they're able to do that because there's not enough transparency, there's not enough, let's say, forcing functions that are pushing them to the right side of the deal. They're able to do that because they can just continue to be very opaque, centralized, and predatory. So we said, okay, how can I build an infrastructure that actually forces these lending participants to play the most transparent and the fair game possible? Because if you can do that, then you're actually creating a suite of solutions that has to play with the roles of the platform, that has to be transparent, that has to play fair, and that eventually creates this snowball effect of creating better solutions for the end user, for the end borrower, for the small business. And even though it's been only 3 months since we launched our beta, we're already seeing this happening with our partners today, launching solutions in Philippines and Kenya and different parts of the world. So I'm excited to continue to see where this goes.
Hi, Herbal. Amanda here.
Hey, Amanda.
Hi. You have such a fascinating career through line from Facebook to fintech to crypto. And when I spoke to you for the article, you said big tech was really where you thought you'd do the most good in the world. Soon realized that wasn't the case. Now, with the financial gap in emerging markets being around $8 trillion and, the population's growing, can you give some examples of projects that's leveraged Huma's infrastructure, like you just mentioned, the rural clinics in Kenya? Can you also just give an example of the market vendors in Indonesia and the communities you're serving there?
Yeah, totally. I actually also see one of the developers on our protocol in the audience today, Ilo. One of the listeners is building something very excited called Crypto Credit. Maybe he can give an example himself, but let me talk about maybe the vendor example, the market vendor example you mentioned. So we partnered with GIA, and GIA is built by a team from the Garmin Bank and the Tala, the emerging market micro lending experts. And they wanted to build something where the borrowers who are small businesses in Philippines and Kenya, the small market vendors, can eventually become the kind of participant in the protocol and participants in this overall ecosystem and set the rules. And they said, okay, these market vendors, the small market vendors, when you go to Philippines, there are like so many of them everywhere, every corner. They are serving everyday needs, right? And they unfortunately don't have capital to buy supplies in bulk. They need to actually go and replenish their supplies every single day, which means they're paying the retail price to sell at the retail price. It's a very hard business to build. And unless actually you can buy in bulk, you're not able to turn much profit, and you're not able to grow your stall, or you're not able to offer more products because you're just taking so much risk by offering more products. So they built this kind of like bargaining power in a way by giving them working capital that they can utilize to buy in bulk. So they actually work with wholesalers. And by working with wholesalers, they're providing this capital credit through the HUMA protocol to the market vendors, and those vendors can utilize that credit they have from HUMA protocol and go to the wholesaler and actually buy in bulk, and they can actually sell at a lower price. They can sell more products, and they can make a little bit more profit and make ends meet and provide a wealth building potential for their family and for their community. And this actually is really important because if you do not necessarily have this kind of structures, then a lot of these market vendors will be eaten up by the giant private equity firms that will build supermarkets all over the place. And they will only build it in the very urban settings. And a lot of these folks will be driven out of business. And there's not enough maturity in those industries and ecosystems to actually offer them better job opportunities or entrepreneurship opportunities. So we've seen vendors benefiting, again, just regular market vendors. We also see a lot of vendors benefiting from this as school vendors. So a lot of schools will have vendors around them. And now those vendors can actually borrow and provide a larger suite of inventory to the students. Previously, they would probably have just a few books, few notebooks, a few pens, and now they can provide print services because they can afford to buy a printer, buy utilizing capital, and they can buy other stuff that will be helpful for students day to day.
I'd like to just open it up to anybody who wants to talk about this, but it seems to us that one of the challenges here is that there's a pretty big contingent out there that views crypto as evil. You've got Senator Warren in the United States campaigning on that she's building an army against crypto. Obviously, we know what Gary Gensler is doing at the SEC, and there are a lot of other very prominent naysayers. Do you guys, does that come into the equation for you? Or are you working to convince people that crypto can be good, or are you just putting your heads down and working to make these projects a reality? And that's like the proof is in the pudding more than maybe shouting on Twitter.
I could maybe speak first. I think I got two thoughts on this, Matt. So one is like at a high level macro state of the country level. It does seem like I am actually happy to see that there's more like talk in government about crypto. And the truth is you're seeing it on both sides of the aisle, right? There's plenty of politicians that are coming out as more pro, and then some that are obviously not, right? Like Ron DeSantis is more pro crypto. Does it affect our business today? I think the truth is, given the state of the crypto market as a whole, with NFT volume being down and prices down across the board, I think for us, from an execution point of view, we've just stayed laser focused on the NFT community for our product and focused specifically on the folks that are still early adopters and want to see this technology be used for good. And I think the cool thing is that this space that we call refi, which is the intersection of crypto meets climate, continues to grow. I remember when we started the company over a year ago, there were fewer than 100 projects that we were tracking in the space. And now there's an explosion of quote unquote impact NFTs and refi projects out there. And we're constantly meeting more people who they came here in a bull run in the bull market, but are sticking around and are trying to use this technology for really important things. To answer your question, we're from an execution point of view, we're focused here. And I think that the market for impact and Web3 continues to grow, which I'm super excited about.
Yeah, I'm here with Nihar on this one. I don't pay attention to specific politicians. I pay more attention to like wider conversation. And maybe in the US, if we just look at what's covered in the news, it's easy to get depressed. But if you step out a little bit and just go talk to the governments of Switzerland, UK, Singapore, Hong Kong, Dubai, Brazil, many other parts around the world, you just see this excitement because I think a lot more people and institutions are realizing the potential, especially if they're participating in the global trade. Just crypto makes everything more efficient and more transparent. And I think the conversation is very different. So we try to also pay attention to the conversations happening globally. But at the end of the day, I think you need to keep making the pudding. And there's just like a lot of people waiting to be served. As long as they're happy, we're happy. And at some point, I think the political conversation in the US will settle and there will be some more clear guidance on regulations and compliance, and we'll all operate within that framework.
Yeah, and I'll just add, I agree with that. And we are operating out of the US for the Glow Dollar stablecoin. So we will have to work within a regulatory environment here that is quite uncertain. But I'm optimistic about seeing draft stablecoin bills being written. The SEC is trying to figure out how they view a lot of these crypto assets. But on the stablecoin side, I'm confident we can work with it in a very trusted way and get more clarity over time. But yeah, it's just a challenge. And hopefully over time, people build more trust in it because it is something that broader conversations around what are safe investments, what does a mature crypto ecosystem look like? And we hope that a stablecoin like us can really change the narrative around crypto. So if we're big enough and have influence, and it's going to make politicians and regulators more accepting of policy that is going to keep us in existence and growing.
Yeah, Jeff, that brings me a point that I find interesting with your venture is how much are you relying on? I think people in crypto, for the most part, have good intentions, and I think they would really like to know that by using a stable coin like Glow Dollar, they could be helping solve a problem in the world. And as long as it has good utility and it's easy to use and trade in and out of and whatnot, is that something that you guys figured out early? Was that there is a bit of altruism in the crypto space, maybe more so than other places? It's always struck me that way. I know there's obviously a bunch of scammers and things like that. At the core of it, I think a lot of people in this space are really trying to make the world a better place.
Yes, totally agree. There is a lot of altruism. We're promoting like an early adopter sign up program before we even get launched into the market, which is going to be soon within the next couple of weeks. And we already have over 250 people who have pledged saying they want to buy Glow to support the mission. And a lot of this is just early signaling of we like the crypto space. We think it's a great ecosystem. There's a lot of value there. How do I participate in a way that aligns with my values? I can promote a mission. All those things are starting to be embedded in financial services and products, and money is fundamental to that. And I really want to change how people view money. If you can have a Patagonia money, why not use that type of product? And I feel there's a lot of need for that in this space. And there's also just early projects. I think people get excited about being new users and things that are being developed in crypto. And I love seeing early community growth and people wanting to help support us. And yeah, it's just a really good, exciting environment to work in.
Yeah, full disclosure, I just signed up as an early adopter the other day. And at Decential, we're planning to use Glow Dollar to pay folks who work for us that want to be receiving crypto. Please, if you're listening, join me. I think it's a great initiative and something that is something to be excited about. And again, for anybody, any of the guests here, have you gotten any pushback from like the traditional industries that you are trying to disrupt? Is that coming into play at all yet? Or do you think you're still under the radar?
Maybe I can jump in because it's a bit relevant for us. To be honest, we've been very surprised. So one of the first conversations we had when we started building Huma was with the chief financial officer of Earnin, who came from a very, probably largest tech private equity firm, and he had a lot of connections in Wall Street. And the second conversation we had was a friend of mine from an investment bank in Australia, probably the largest investment bank in Australia. They do a lot of debt initiatives for investment banks and investment fintechs. And those two conversations actually were quite surprising for a couple of reasons. One, crypto is like highly valued, and everybody is so curious about the blockchain technology and wants to learn more and wants to get involved more. So there's so many kind of like this people who have a day job at Wall Street, but actually in the evenings and weekends, they actually work with protocols like us. And they are the biggest ambassadors within their firms as well to push those firms to start looking into blockchain, maybe start incubating some projects, working with some of the protocols in the space. They're all like putting on the brakes a little bit, at least because of they don't want to get the publicity and reputation damage, given the unclarity on the overall regulatory and compliance space. But I think the moment that clarity is clear and the picture is more clear, just so many of them are waiting to just jump in. It's just that's what we heard from again and again, many of them.
Yeah, that's really interesting because I was talking to somebody for my podcast, Decent People, and he was talking about he was at big banks trading equities, options, and stuff like that. And he felt like he missed the fintech wave of a couple of years ago where he had offers, but he didn't go anywhere. And he watched all his friends get really rich. So then when DeFi and Web3 came around, he's okay, I can't miss this. I can't miss it again. Sounds like that might be what's going on in the background, which is great. So it's the opposite of getting pushback. Jeff, have you guys gotten any trouble with that, or how would you say things are going along those lines?
Yeah, no pushback. I don't think it's a very kind of, I could like the other stable coins. I've had a couple conversations with people at those other places, and they're very supportive of our idea. They want to help us out, understand the landscape, learn about how to navigate the regulatory space. It feels very much like we're all in it together. I haven't talked to everybody at every stablecoin, but it's really been a positive experience working in this space. We're all kind of building. If the whole market grows and people adopt stablecoins as payments and just general use and use it for all kinds of new things, just like money, we all benefit from it. So it's like the growth of our stablecoin, the growth of USDC, it's just all net positive in terms of getting this to be more widely adopted.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, we're going to start wrapping it up, but I thought to wrap up, I wanted to ask you guys to just tell listeners like how, or investors, like how can they contribute to your projects and get involved? Maybe Jeff, you want to start first, and then we'll just go Jeff, Nihar, and Urban.
Sure, that works great. I already mentioned, so the early adopter program we're running, it's very simple. You sign up, email, provide your social media link. It's glowdollar.org/early. That's a great place to start. And within a couple of weeks, we'll be available publicly in terms of having the ability to purchase Glow. So we'd want you to stay tuned and support us early on as a purchaser of Glow. It's really important that we find an early support kind of community for liquidity and adoption and kind of building up that early critical mass to get this more widely available. We're also on Twitter at GlowDollar too. Appreciate any support and following there.
Yeah, so there's basically two ways to get involved with us. I think one is at a high level, would love to have anyone here that wants to use digital art to fight climate change to come join our cause and join our mission. And all it takes is to follow us on Twitter at EcoSapiensXYZ and to jump into our Discord. So that's number one. Number two is if you are interested in buying digital art that offsets your carbon footprint and preserves Kenyan soil regeneration, our product is available for sale. You can go to OpenSea and look up EcoSapiens Ecogenesis Collection. And all you got to do is pick up a Chrysalis NFT and then take it back to our website and evolve it into an ecosapien. And in that process, you offset 28 tons of carbon, and you get to see what your character looks like. And oh yeah, we'll also send you a print version of it too. So those are pretty cool. But yeah, join our community or check it out in OpenSea.
That sounds cool. I'm gonna definitely do that. I love collecting NFTs, especially for a good cause. So for us, it will be, any fintech who wants to build a fair, affordable, and transparent lending solution for business and people in emerging markets. I think we are the perfect infrastructure solution for that. But also for people who want to provide liquidity, I think all the lending opportunities we have right now on Huma Finance DApp are overcommitted from a liquidity perspective, which is lucky given the market environment. But there's going to be more opportunities launching there. And if you want to participate in that way, also that's going to be available to you in the coming weeks.
Great. Thank you so much. Click on these guys' socials, give them a follow, check them out online. And thank you very much for joining us. I think as we've shown here through some of the stories we've written at Decential and the other issues we're following, there's a lot to be positive about. There's a lot to feel good about, that crypto is making an effort to change the world for the better. It's easy to forget that sometimes when a lot of the negative stuff, I think, gets a little more attention, maybe a little more volume than some of the positive stuff, but it is happening in the background. And as you've seen here, go help it out, check it out, and get involved. So yeah, thank you so much. And if you want a POAP, we've got one that's really cool for attending today. It's totally free. There's no cost to mint. All you need to do is we put a tweet out just recently, a couple minutes ago. Just drop your address in there and we will send you a POAP from today. And please check us out at Decential.io. We're on Apple Podcasts, where there's a film section at our website. You can see some of the films we've made with Peter McCormack. They're called Follow the Money. It's a lot about Bitcoin and how inflation is affecting economies around the world. And we've got just a lot of great stories coming out every week, podcasts as well. Give us a look, and thank you so much for joining us. We will be back with these Twitter Spaces on a regular basis, so also keep an eye out for that. Thank you to Nihar, to Erbil, and to Jeff. Thanks, Stephen and Amanda, and hope you guys have a great rest of your day wherever you are.
That's it for this episode. Thanks for joining us, and don't forget to rate and follow this show on Apple, Spotify, and Amazon Music. Decent People is a production of Decential Media. It is produced by Matt Bogart, with music by Brian Duncan and Kareem Imes.